Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parent Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. My Karen sister and her boyfriend demand to move in with me. After that, dirty little lunch thief. And after that, refused database access and told to submit tickets? Okay, boss. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get to drink any Mountain Dew. Nugget-o Mountain Dew. So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. My Karen sister and her boyfriend demand to move in with me. I, 24 female, used to be close with my sister who's 27 female when we were younger. When we went to high school, we gradually grew apart. She went to college in another state and we did stay in touch. I graduated from college and landed a wonderful job. I've been dating my girlfriend, 25 female, since last year. She recently got a job and we've been talking about moving in together soon. I've been looking for a townhouse and I found one close to where I work. I put an offer through and it was accepted. I'm not due to move in until the end of September. The townhouse is 2 floors with 2 bathrooms and 2 bedrooms. I let my girlfriend tour the townhome and she loved it. Girlfriend and I have talked about payments and she is more than happy to split the bills. My sister and her new boyfriend came back due to both of them losing their jobs. I treated them to lunch and let them know I was planning on moving into the townhouse. They currently are living with boyfriend's brother at his apartment. They asked if they could live in the second bedroom and I told them that it would be used for guests. Her boyfriend is a huge smoker and I don't like the idea of the place smelling like smoke. After telling them no, they got argumentative and sister told me not to contact her unless I change my mind. It's been a few days since I've heard from her, and I'm starting to feel like a huge jerk for not wanting them to move in. Am I the jerk for not wanting my sister and her boyfriend to move in? Dirty little lunch thief. In the past, I've read about dirty little office lunch thieves and have wanted to share mine, but have had other things going on, wasn't able to post it. This took place when I was still a teen, fresh out of university, working directly under an engineer. The office I was doing my 4,000 hours in was fairly large, 5 floors consisting of a large office building, a Toronto construction firm. Well, I was lazy and always picked up a lunch from Whole Foods, usually sushi on my way to work. My floor had its own break room and fridge, and for the first 6 months, nothing ever went missing until we got a batch of university office interns in, paid interns. Then, wouldn't you know, the lunches started to go missing, and it wasn't just my lunch. Any lunch in-store packaging was gone if there was a name on it or not. Well, after 2 weeks of our lunches just walking away, we were all getting issued, "Don't mess with my salmon sushi." One of the engineers comes up with an idea and asks everyone to throw in a couple of dollars to solve this problem. The following week, he sends a text to the store-bought lunch people to meet in the break room before work and send a text to everyone in the office to not touch any of the packaged lunches. We meet up and he hands us this little spray bottle to spray the packaging. It was this black light reactive spray, glows from a black light, but completely undetectable. Lunch rolls around and guess what? Every single packaged lunch is gone. And this guy brings out a black light and starts looking for fingerprints. He found them on the door down the hall to the elevator. Now imagine 5 of these super nerdy engineers you have never seen walking along a hallway with a black light, like something from a discount CSI. Well, there are fingerprints everywhere, right up to the elevator, on the buttons down to the 2nd floor. Down the hallway at this time, I figured some of the interns are eating our lunches, but I was wrong. We followed it right to the head of sales department desk, and we all demand to see his hands, and they were glowing like crazy. Not to mention, he had touched his face, so there was this glowing mess covering his face. The guy knew he was caught, and we made an agreement not to go to HR, but to get a picture and pizza for our floor every Friday for 2 months. We stayed extra long that day to print out the glowing mess that was his face. We printed at least 100 of them with the caption, "Dirty, dirty lunch thief." Those things went up everywhere. The bathrooms, all over the entryways of the building, every office door and desk in sight. Needless to say, the lunches stopped going missing and I was able to eat my sushi in peace. Edit. I worked there for 2 years after this. The guy never got fired or punished, but he did get made fun of and received the nickname of Lunch Thief. Edit. I don't think I was clear. We took a picture of his face under the black light with the mess everywhere and posted the photos all over the office. Refused database access and told to submit tickets? Okay, boss. Okay, I've been meaning to type this up for a while. This happened at my last job back in 2018. To give some background, I was working as a data analyst at a company in the ed tech sector. For one of my projects, I created a report that we could give to the sales team that they could then use when asking clients to renew their contract. Clients were typically school systems or individual schools. The report was all graphs, even adults like pretty pictures, and it showed the client's data on how teachers and students were using the product. Then our sales guys could show, hey, X% of your students and teachers are using this X times a week, so you should sign a new contract with us. I developed this report for our biggest client and had the top people in sales all put in input when developing it. The big client renewed, which was great. They loved the report and wanted to use it for all renewals, and we had 5,000 plus clients. I had automated the process and everything seemed peachy until I hit a problem. The data for the report was pulled from our database, MSSQL if you are curious. Now, I was in the research department and I did not have access to the database. Instead, our IT team had access to the database. If I wanted data, I had to put in a ticket, name all the data points I wanted, and I could only name one client per ticket. Also, IT did their work in sprints, which are basically 2-week periods of work. The tickets were always added to the next sprint, so I ended up having to wait 2 to 4 weeks for the data. This was fine for the big client report, but now that I was running this report for all renewals, the ticket system was not going to work. Now, if you have worked with sales, you know they don't typically plan out 2 to 4 weeks ahead. At least they didn't at this company. I reached out to IT and requested direct access to the database so I could stop putting in tickets and just query the data myself. Well, that was immediately denied. All data requests will be filled by only IT, and as a research person, I needed to stay in my lane. You might see where this is going. I wasn't happy, and sales wasn't happy with the delay, but there was nothing anyone could do. So I reached out to one of the sales managers to discuss a solution. Since data was going to take 2 to 4 weeks to arrive, could he please send me everyone that has a renewal coming up in the next 2 to 4 weeks? With 5,000 plus customers, that averages about 100 renewals a week. He smiled and understood what was going on and happily sent me a list of 400-ish clients. Quick note, the IT team spends the day before a sprint planning the next sprint, and all tickets submitted before the sprint had to be completed during the next sprint. The sprint planning time was always Friday afternoon because the least amounts of tickets rolled in. During the planning session, they would plan all of the work for the next 2 weeks for the next sprint. Any tickets that came in before 5 p.m. Friday had to be finished over the next 2 weeks. Time for the malicious compliance. Armed with my list of 400 plus clients, I figured out when the next sprint started and cleared my schedule for the day before the new IT sprint started, aka their sprint planning Friday. At about 1 ticket a minute, I was able to take about 6 hours and 40 minutes to submit all of the tickets, so that's what I spent my whole Friday doing. Let's not forget, they had to get the data for all the tickets during the next sprint as long as I submitted them before 5 p.m. on Friday. That meant they had to take care of all 400 tickets in the next 2 weeks, plus I submitted tickets throughout their spring planning meeting, so they couldn't even plan for it at all. If you're not tech savvy, this might not make sense, but if you are, let me add an extra twist to this. They used JIRA at the time, and the entire IT team had the JIRA app on their laptops. Most of them had push notifications set up, so they got pinged every time a ticket was submitted. I would have paid good money to be a fly on the wall during that meeting, watching a new ticket pop up about every minute. Okay, tech aside done. I didn't hear a peep from them at all that Friday. To their credit, Monday I started getting data from my tickets. Now, I had automated the reporting process on my end, so each report only took me a few minutes to run. I was churning out reports as quickly as I received the data without an issue, and sales was loving it. I saw tickets coming in from every member of the IT team, and during the second week, many tickets came in after working hours, so obviously they were struggling to keep up. Again, I will give them full credit. They fulfilled every single ticket, but there were a lot of long days for them. Everyone was salary, so no overtime pay either. This is, of course, on top of all of the other tickets they needed to complete, so it was quite a stressful sprint. Undeterred, I met with the sales manager again right before the next sprint and asked for the next set of clients and renewals. Then, the day before the next sprint, I began submitting tickets again. My workday started at 9 a.m., and by 10 a.m., the head of IT runs over to me. He is bug-eyed and asked me how many tickets I was planning on submitting. I told him the same amount as last time. I only had 200 this time, but he didn't know that, and I'm pretty sure I saw him break on the inside. I did feel bad at this point, so I said, alternatively, you could just give me access to the database and I could query the data myself. I had the access before noon. I'm not going to risk my job because you want an insane amount of cereal. I work at a supermarket, and one of our regular customers is a woman who comes in with her 2 kids and buys an absolutely insane amount of cereal whenever it's on sale. Now, when I say an insane amount, I don't mean 10 to 20 boxes at a time. No, she's not here for math word problem level amounts of cereal. She comes in and buys anywhere from 50 to 300 boxes at a time. Her and her kids usually come to the back room door with 3 shopping carts and ask for 9 to 15 cases of cereal, depending on how much we have left in stock. She's gotten denied service a few times, like the time she tried to buy an entire pallet of cereal, 5 boxes per transaction the day before Thanksgiving. Management cut her off after 18 transactions, 90 boxes, because her order was holding up the lines for 3 of our 7 operational registers. 3 of our registers were broken at the time. The stock department manager absolutely despises this and has told the woman on multiple occasions that if she's going to purchase more than 3 cases of cereal, she has to call a few days before she comes in so that he can order extra cereal, but she always claims that she won't know what she'll need until she comes in and refuses to. This happened to me on a Sunday when I was the only person working in my department. I had just finished emptying the baler when Cereal Lady poked her head into the room. "Hey, could you get me some cereal?" she asked. I scanned our sale pallets and she said, "It's on the 2nd level of the scaffolding." The scaffolding she was talking about is the same kind of scaffolding you would see at a wholesale club like Costco, Sam's Club, or BJ's Wholesale. So I told her, "Unfortunately, I can't get that down for you. I'm not authorized to use the equipment needed to get that down." She then asked, "Is there anyone on who can get that down for me?" And I responded, "Unfortunately, I'm the only one on at the moment. The full-timer who normally works alongside me on Sundays has the day off." She sighed and asked, "Could you do it for me this one time?" And I responded with, "No, I'm not authorized to use the machine needed to get that down." And she said, "Seriously? You can't just do it this one time?" And I told her, "No, I can't do it this one time. I'm not allowed to use the machinery, nor do I even know how to use it. If I get caught using that equipment, I won't only lose my job, but I could potentially face legal trouble and steep fines should I damage something or injure myself." She huffed and went, "Fine, I'll just get front-end manager. He'll do it for me." A few minutes later, the front-end manager walked into the storeroom with this lady in tow. "Hey OP, are you authorized to use the power lift?" To which I respond, "Nope." "Is full-time coworker here yet?" I reply, "He's off today and my brother already left for the day." My brother works in the same department as me and is authorized to use the power pallet jacks. The front-end manager turns to Cereal Lady and said, "I'm sorry, but that product is unavailable for today. There's no one who can get that down." Cereal Lady then shrieked, "You're a manager and you can't get that down for me?" And the front-end manager responded with, "I wasn't trained on that equipment because this isn't my department and therefore I'm not allowed to operate it. You're going to have to come back tomorrow if you want that." Cereal Lady then stormed back to the cereal aisle without another word. I haven't seen her since that day, and my department manager has since started storing the cereal pallets on the same side as the storage room door so that she can't poke her head in and demand 15 cases of cereal without calling a few days in advance. Hotel management is watching my movements by rewinding camera footage, so I started dancing. I'm a night audit at a hotel. Management felt rounds were not walked properly based on camera footage. I decided to give them a show dance to let them know that I was keenly aware of them watching now. I made a Reddit post about it, and you guys helped me come up with my next moves, so here's an update. Before going to work today, I got a call from my supervisor. It came to his attention that it was inappropriate that I was now making my rounds in an exaggerated way, and that I would know what he was talking about. I laughed and said I was just dancing to make a statement. "Well, that ends now," he said. I promised I would stop. Dancing, that is. It took little effort on my part to make that concession, because thanks to you guys, I had a ton of ideas of what other maliciously compliant shenanigans to pull next. However, management hadn't been sitting still either. The first thing I noticed clocking in today is that our security feed now has all interior cameras in full view, taking the spot of the garage, outside elevators, revealing more cameras than I initially counted. I can only see this as a challenge. Management is letting me know they have eyes everywhere. Get to know I have their attention. Because tonight, as well as the coming weekend, the theme is horror. First, I tried to do my rounds in erratic pathways, then the parking basement, then the second floor, from the 8th floor to the 5th, making sure to take the unmonitored staircase as much as I could. The idea is that I would seem to be in one place one moment, then appear out of nowhere someplace else completely randomly. Phase 2 was going down the creepy staircase where there was just one camera, and after first standing still for a minute, frozen in motion, I stared directly into it for about 2 minutes, but no dancing, no more than the occasional deliberate eye contact. Still, sometimes my walking just seemed a little off. Then it would go back to normal, then off, then back to normal again. I always tried to give the impression that the cameras were bugging out by crossing a monitored hallway, walking backwards, then forwards, backwards and forwards again, at times freezing mid-walk while making jerky, jittery movements, then walking twice as fast as if I were a lagging NPC. I know a bit of pop and lock, it helped. I tried to walk a whole hallway backwards and forwards, but bumped into the door on my way back a few times, so I'm afraid that one was a dud. Nevertheless, I carried on. I tried to act spooked at an invisible something in the hallways. I threw up my hands in a defensive, startled, "Don't come near me" gesture, looking panicked, then sprinting out of the 3rd hallway. Finally, as my piece de resistance, I walked down the most monitored hallway right up until the end, then stood with me facing just inches from a wall for a whole minute, then slowly turned around and gave a dead-eyed grin to the camera for another minute. Now, aside from walking backwards and freezing a few times, I kept my promise of not dancing. Of course, if they ask me, I will have but limited memory of my conduct. I might just say something along the lines of, maybe I'm coming down with something. I know I made the rounds, but the details seem a bit hazy somehow. Thanks for all the wonderful ideas, guys. I put them in action. Let's see what the weekend will bring when I work again. They have to give me 2 days off now. I've been working 6 nights in a 7-day period. Whatever happens, I'm ready to face the consequences. I may be a cog in a machine, but today I was a master of my own fate. Entitled lady is angry at me for catching her daughter. So here's something that happened a couple of years ago. I don't remember all of it, but I figured I'd share it here as I've been mostly lurking and commenting. I don't write these often, so bear with me. So I'm from a big town, but I attend university in a smaller place, so I had to move up there. It's also an area where many tourists go as the sea is very close by. So naturally, trains on that route are extremely crowded. I, having visited my parents, board the evening regional train and as usual, crowded. Regional trains are the cheapest without advanced booking, so everyone tries taking the same train. Hence it was so packed, you basically couldn't move. I somehow made my way through all the tourists away from the door and settle in the front of entitled mom and nice kid, who are stood on the first step of the stairs. The kid is maybe around 13 or 14 and a girl, so with me being 18 at the time, we're not too far apart age-wise. The train departs, and I already start noticing I've made a massive mistake boarding this coach. Entitled mom is the special kind of an entitled person. A minute into the ride, she starts ranting. She asks passengers to back off. Like how, lady? Tells them they stink of sweat. Yeah, lady, it's like 25 degrees Celsius and this train is crowded. And constantly reassembles her bags, occupying an entire step on the stairs going to the upper deck. People can sit on those when the train is crowded, but she felt entitled to have her bags there. I'm not too confrontational, so I don't tell her what everyone's thinking, but people's faces tell the entire story. About an hour into the journey, and we're all collectively losing our mind, Nice kid included, judging by her facial expression. The train reaches a small town and brakes quite violently. Caught off guard, entitled mom bumps into nice kid and she stumbles down the stairs. It was just my instinct, but I tried catching her and somehow got a hold of nice kid. That was close. Entitled mom's time has come. While nice kid wants to thank me for stopping her fall, entitled mom starts screaming at me. Her rant basically goes as follows. Excuse me, did you just touch her? Me. I sure did. Why would you do that? Me. She was about to fall off the stairs. Someone could have gotten hurt. No, she was fine. You're just looking for an excuse to grab her, you sicko. Me. Excuse me, she just nearly fell. I just extended my hands. No, you are not. You are disgusting. I'm calling the police on you. At this point, I'm already done with her. I just ignore her and hope she stops. Also, the whole coach is looking, and my shrugging is met with similar behavior from other passengers. Enter the conductor, a total mad lad. He leans into the coach through the door. Conductor. Sorry for that abrupt halt. Is everyone fine? Entitled mom. No, I am not. We are being harassed here. The conductor clearly sees how annoyed we are with this lady. He grins, and in his most blunt voice, he comes to my rescue. Ma'am, this is a train, not a cab. If you want your personal space, feel free to exit and take the next train. It'll only be 2 hours. Entitled mom. No, he should get off. Points at me. Me. Ma'am, I kept your daughter from falling. Conductor looks at me. I know how to fix this. Would you want to be promoted to first class? Entitled mom. Yes, please. Conductor. I'm talking to the young man. So I got promoted to first, where literally no one is sitting. Entitled mom throws a temper tantrum and ends up being removed from the train, probably invalidating her ticket in the process. It took 5 minutes of her talking crap, but we got it done. Definitely the weirdest train ride I've ever had. Only feel bad for the nice kid having to wait 2 hours with entitled mom. Even worse, her probably having to spend a whole vacation with her. Am I the jerk for frightening a snooping neighbor by opening my door and causing her to fall? I, 37 female, live alone in a pet-friendly, no breed restrictions apartment building, renting in a US city that has significant crime. Our building has 2 on the first floor, 2 on the second floor, 1 on the third. I live on the 3rd floor. I don't share a landing with any of my neighbors, and anyone coming up to the 3rd floor is coming there for me. We do not have a secured gate or a front door to the building. I have a 40-pound dog, not aggressive in the slightest, does not have leash aggression, does not resource guard. She does have one guarding tendency, and due to where I live alone, I fostered this. She will bark at the door when someone is outside. She is part hunting hound, so she has a very big, vocal howl bark. I've always found this comforting because I will always know if someone is coming when I am not expecting anyone. Sometimes people will come up to lurk on my landing who have no business being there, and my dog will scare them away. She also lets me know when deliveries have been dropped off. A downstairs neighbor, 45 to 50 female, from the 1st floor has been up on my landing several times. She will sometimes bring up packages or mail if it's left downstairs, which is nice, but I've seen her through the peephole lurking around without anything to leave for me. One time, she moved my doormat. She has seen me walking my dog several times. Outside of my apartment, my dog is all wags. She's asked several times where my other aggressive dog is, because she's been up to my landing and she's heard my dog's big barks. I told her each time that I only have one dog and that she just sounds like aggressive at the door. She hasn't stopped asking about my other dog though. Last week, my property manager emailed about reports that I may have 2 dogs, which is fine, just to let them know because they want to know how many animals are in the building. I wonder how they got this report. Today, my neighbor was on my landing again. From my peephole, I saw her bending down in front of my door, but couldn't tell what she was doing. So I swung my door open, with my dog standing beside me, loudly barking. She got spooked from the noise and fell on her butt, because she was like leaning down to look under my doormat again. I said, "See, just the one dog, like I told you." Then I realized she may have injured herself when she fell, and offered to help her up, but she just stormed off, calling me all sorts of names and said the building was better before I moved in. I've lived here for 5 years. This is the first I'm having this issue. My sister told me I'm definitely the jerk because I could have given the woman a heart attack by frightening her. I kind of see her point. However, I did not know she was going to fall over. I still do not know what she was doing on my landing. Other tenants have dogs too, and you can hear all the dogs barking anytime a delivery car pulls up. I always considered it the price of a pet-friendly apartment. Neighbor saves me from Karen. I live in a small town that's 95% English speaking. There are a few French families due to the local industry. I speak enough French, about as well as an 8-year-old native speaker, that I made friends with a neighbor who doesn't speak English and can't drive because of seizures. Her husband has been out of town for work for the last few months, so I've taken her grocery shopping and to run errands. Her computer died last week, so I took her to the big box computer store to look at a new one. I work in electronics as a technician, so I knew a thing or two about brands, quality, pricing, and what computer to get based on her needs. I'm standing at the computer area with her, telling her about all of the specs, tower versus laptop, etc. I notice someone in my peripheral vision, but I ignore it. Our conversation switches over to school starting soon. Our daughters ride the bus together when the lady behind us pokes me in the shoulder and starts barking in French. I need help too. You need to stop chatting and start helping. Do you know how hard it is to get help in French around here? Big box employees wear blue polo shirts and slacks. I'm wearing a hippie maxi dress and Birkenstocks. I start trying to explain that I don't work here, but I think that's when she picked up on my obvious Anglo accent. She starts talking to me like I'm a misbehaving toddler. I need you to help me set up my home network. I don't have time for you to chat about your kids. Have fun finding a job once your manager hears you're chatting about your kids instead of working. At this point, my neighbor pushes me out of the way. She's about twice as big as the Karen yelling at me. She walks up to the Karen and just shouts at her for 2 minutes. I couldn't catch most of it because I only know school French, but I'm picking out some angry words. One of the staff comes up and tries to find out what's going on, but they aren't paying him any attention. When he realizes they're not English, he walks away. I guess he didn't think he could help. Karen storms off in a huff. I wish I know what was said. Also, my neighbor is awesome. Edit to add. My neighbor told me what she said, but she paraphrased it for me because my French isn't stellar. Who do you think you are, bugging my friend? What about her says she works here? You are being very rude to my friend who is being very nice. If you had asked nicely, I'm sure she would have helped you. Entitled mom tries to put me in my place, but tables were turned. Cast. We've got me, we've got entitled mom, we've got entitled mom's daughter, and the district manager. I was a store manager for a semi-well-known women's clothing store for about 12 years. I left retail altogether 2 years ago. This story is several years old and takes place Black Friday. The company I worked for didn't really have any sales on Black Friday as they always had clearance markdowns every week. As store manager, I was required to be there at 7 a.m. when we opened. I didn't get off until about 4 p.m. that day. I had closed the day before Thanksgiving. We were told that any overdue layaways needed to be put back on the floor Wednesday night, so we wouldn't miss any if we were close to making our monthly bonus Saturday night at close. So I put all overdue layaways back. There were quite a few, as we had been extremely busy and hadn't put back any. I realized this meant no one had probably called our customers informing them their layaway was due. We always try to do this, but for some reason we hadn't done it due to being busier than normal. Anyways, Friday morning around lunchtime, entitled mom enters. She comes up to the register after looking around and says she wants to pick up her layaway. I immediately recognize her as she shops at several of our company's surrounding stores. I remembered putting her layaway back as it was 2.5 weeks overdue. I told her I was sorry, but I cleaned out all of the overdue layaways Wednesday night. She went off on me, called me and my employees idiots, you name it. She says, I want my money back then, in cash. Me, I'm sorry, but as you know, our policy doesn't allow for layaway refunds to be given back in cash. It's required to be put on a gift card. Since when? Since the beginning of this year. She said she wanted to speak to my manager. I started backing up towards the store phone as I waved and told her I was the store manager. She says for me to get my district manager on the phone. So I called my DM, explained the situation, all the while the customer is speaking quite loudly and my district manager can hear her. DM, is that her? Me, yes. Entitled mom, let me talk to her. DM, tell her if she can bring her receipt showing how she paid every payment, I will allow you to give her the money back with how she paid. Otherwise, it goes on a gift card. Me, okay. DM, let me know if she's okay with that, And if not, I'm in the next town over store. I can be there in 10 minutes. Me, okay, bye. Me to entitled mom. So DM will allow me to give you cash back. Entitled mom smiles real big. But you have to have all receipts showing you paid cash. Entitled mom's face falls. Okay, fine. I'll be back. I'm going home to find my receipts. All my employees are looking at me like, wow. As I'm walking the store, I got to thinking, you know what? I'm gonna show her some grace. I went and pulled her layaway slip, found everything in her layaway and put it aside. She came back with her daughter, entitled daughter, about 20 minutes before the end of my shift. She walks up to me and tosses her receipts on the counter and says, there, now about my money. Me, well, I wanted to let you know that after you left, I pulled your layaway slip and went and found all your items that had not been sold yet. Here they are, but I want you to understand something. Yes, we could have called you to remind you, as I know you are a frequent shopper with our company. However, I want you to understand something. You see, all these people in my store right now, about 20 to 30 people. Well, my entire year has been busier than normal for me and my staff. We've been doing the best we can. This is only going to get worse the closer to Christmas. I want you to know that I did not appreciate being spoken to like I wasn't worth anything. I am a human being and I have feelings. If you cannot respect me and my employees and the job we are trying to do, you can leave and not come back to my store. Same goes for your daughter. She had been rolling her eyes at me and huffing the whole time I spoke. I will not tolerate blatant disrespect from my customers when we are following our policy and doing our jobs. I did not have to go and pull your layaway items for you, but I did because I wanted you to have your items. But if you don't want them, my assistant will take them right now and put them back on the floor. Y'all, she was floored that I would say that to her. She was quiet for a moment and spoke with her daughter on what they wanted to keep or not. She turns back to me and says, I'm sorry for how I acted. You are right. I behaved badly, and for that, I apologize. I will take everything in the layaway, and we can use the refund towards the final total. I want you to know that it will be a while before I do come back in here, though. I told her I understood, and that I hope we could have a good employee/customer relationship next time we meet. I ran into her at another store months later when I was helping the store manager out. She came up and gave me a hug and said she was gonna come and see me soon in my store. She was in there the next week. Click this button to join as a channel member today and we'll give you a shout out in our next video. And come watch this video next, the one that just popped up on the screen. YouTube is recommending it specifically for you based on the other videos that you watch.